A very good evening, our dear listeners of viewers at the same time of sorry, I beg your pardon. Our dear viewers of Elkem Television, one more time, you're welcome to the sites once again, and of course, our offer that is Youth Connect show that has actually been transpiring down places of this very station. One more time, I want to welcome you guys. Thanks for joining in and being part of Agafiire week show that transpires every single Friday from the hours of 3 to the hours of 4. To other sites today, it's me, Mr. Hayes, and of course, going to talk about these very particular stories. Remember, onto this very show, we always come up with stories that have actually made round into the week, what has actually been surfacing onto the social media platforms, handles, and wherever they have happened from. You actually get to understand what has actually transpired in your locality, in your district, and outside the district at large. Before I get to proceed with the stories, I want to remind other people that are off there that next week on Friday, I think it will be a Valentine's Day, and of course, I just shout out to everybody that is actually prepared for this very love session that will be coming up that very day. All I wish you is luck, and of course, for that upcoming next. But right now, maybe before we get proceed, just allow me to take into a little breathe, and when I do return, we shall be actually getting indulged into these very stories. You get to understand what is happening to our country, Uganda, in your district, and at the same time, outside the country as well. My name is Mr. Hayes. Let's come back shortly from a commercial break, and of course, I get to see what is into the news stories. Once again, and of course, you welcome back into the sites of Elkem Television Agafiire Week show that actually comes up every single that is a Friday. We bring you all the stories that have made rounds all over that is the country and outside the world as well. But right now, one more time, allow me to welcome you back from that commercial break, and maybe just a reminder. I would wish to remind you that this show is actually brought to you, that is by Kabalega Resort, and proudly sponsored by those people of ours. And of course, they are located a few kilometers off that is Masindi town along Kampala highways. You can simply reach out to them for a couple of services. They have a hotel, they have that is accommodations, they have grounds, they have that is bar, swimming pool, and a lot of stuff. So you can simply reach out there as you're going for your weekend and with your family at large and everything. There is a cutters of everything with Kabalega Resort. But meanwhile, right now, allow me get into the real gist of this very particular story. I told you earlier on that when this very arena, we actually talk about stories that have transpired into the week. We get to see what is happening in different localities that is of the country and outside the world as well. But starting with the stories over here, we shall start with a story in Masindi district where we've seen that is the chairperson LOC5 of Masindi district raising concern over that is a Kikingra Health Center held a center to over the condition that they are in. It is say that based on to the stories, it is alleged that now expected mother actually the pole was brought into the compound the premises of the hospital, but there is nothing that was installed. As still we're speaking right now, they are not having electricity. There is no solar that is around, maybe to have power within the facility. So they're actually facing a very hard moment of that is electricity in terms of doing the surgical whatever, more so for expectant mothers at that side of Kikingora. And remember, at times of delivery comes at unexpected time. It could be a night, but that is the information that we are getting right from that is the chairman LOC5 Masindi District Ruhanga Cosmas also having a say onto this very story. But still into the story, that is Kingura Hele Center 2 is located in still into our main district. But of course, that is actually one of the stories that have actually made headlines in Masindi district this very week, creating a couple of concerns coming up in various places. People are like, what is not really happening? Because why is it that people don't really get what they are supposed to be getting from our government? How can really government fail to install electricity for these people? And remember, it is something very serious that has actually created in a couple of says a couple of various people. But let's wait and see. You never, when it or ever comes into the media, we always expect at least a change over, at least there would be an improvement to this very facility. Of course, the cry has been made. And now moving still into some other stories, into some other local stories. And of course, before I get to move to dead and burnt brutally by unknown people. Of course, based on it is to know what is actually that is a story about this happening. And of course, the kid that died was identified as Samuel Samuel to Singwire. That is the kid that happened. Of course, still onto the very story that he is this of Komukona. Yes, Omukikona in that is Kikaihu, that is county in Akakomiro, burnt to unrecognized recognized identity. But of course, that is happening there. And of course, I'm moving right back here to our neighbors of that is our Lisa district. And of course, this week we have also been in position to also see that is the president's representative, that is a DRDC, resident district commissioner of Bulisa. This is also coming out seriously and also in putting an injunction or stopping that is these scrap buyers or that business in Bulisa district over a couple of accusations that have actually come up and allegations that these people are actually that much in maybe that are practicing this activity of buying scrap in Bulisa district have a couple of times done a road. There are a couple of signposts that were put along the road that is along Masindi road, Masindi Bulisa road, and at the same time that is Masindi coming up from different sayings from different that is locals alleging that there are some mysterious people that are always identified that fruit along that is Abiso, yes, Hoima Highway, that route near Lake River Waki. Some over the signposts road have actually been vandalized and taken away. They've been stolen. So this has actually raised a lot of concern and also public concern, and also some leaders also creating this kind of awareness for now. That is in Bulisa district until this issue is clearly handled of vandalizing. That is these are proper public properties. And of course, I run to the story street lights were installed way back in time. We also use steal this bad these solar plants that were actually planted onto the street lights by the Chinese while constructing these roads. And of course, that is one of another stories that has show created a lot of concerns in Bulisa district. And as we're speaking right now, that is actually what is happening down places of that is Bulisa district. And of course, still moving right in with some other stories. That of course today morning I also happened to look at a given headline that some kind of attention to people, whereby it is alleged that the Chijambia people, that is in Greater Masaka, in places of that is Komansimbi and Kyotera, they have started dropping some letters indicating tension. Let's wait and see, because of we are ready that the security personnel have already been communicated to actually currently happening into that is Greater Masaka. And way back giving you the story, remember that was the late with the colleague called Sewanyana were also apprehended over for allegedly accusing them of financing these people that are actually carrying out these activities in places of central Uganda. Of course, still moving some other stories here. Maybe just a short breathe, and when I do return, I'll be see what is happening into the country and elsewhere, that is in the world, onto some other stories that have actually making wave. And for now, allow me go make a short break. And of course, the show is Agafiire. I'll be coming back shortly. Just keep locked into the Mighty Television. our viewers of Welcome Television, welcome back from that short commercial break. And of course, before getting to a break, I was really trying to tell you about some of the stories that have transpired into the week. We've actually been looking at a couple of things that have actually gotten viral, that have been surfacing onto the social media platforms in various localities. But of course, basing on the stories that you've seen, what is happening in Masindi, Bulisa, and of course everywhere, I'm so sure that as an individual that's actually watching right in now, and of course just a reminder that for the ones that would wish to catch up with this very particular show, you can move on to your YouTube, type the word ElkemTV, subscribe, and be in position to at least be informed, of or alerted every time that our shows will be, coming up. You'll be aware and at least be in position to catch up with a couple of things that will be you do be learning in various shows that will be coming up with different hosts. But for now, and of course, we're still looking at remember this show is called Agafiire week. We always bring stories that have actually transpired into the week, and of course indulge deep and dig more to get you understand what has actually happened into the locality. And of course, before getting to a break, I was still looking at some of the local stories that have gone down places of Uganda. But as still we're proceeding, I want to take you to Tororo district, whereby we have seen a scenario that was this very week happening that is in places of Tororo, whereby we saw some two head teachers in primary schools being evicted over poor performance by the candidates. This incident really happened in Tororo district in that is Bukunju, that is Mukunju sub-county, and together with Kisoko sub-county, whereby we see one called Martin Odeke, a head teacher of Mokiswa Primary School, being evicted from office, that is by angry parents over the poor performance, together with the counterpart, that is Beatrice Pedet, over the poor performance that transpired into the 2024 that is primary 7 examinations. Of course, it is alleged that these two schools, Mokiswa Primary School together with that is Odekai Primary School, poorly performed, whereby they gave us an analysis where that out of the 43 that sat on Odekai Primary School, out of the 43 that is pupils that sat for primary living examination, all of them got 36 aggregates. There is none that at least got even 35, but all failed a primary 7 living examination. Based on the accusations that are coming up from, were actually coming up from different parents and leaders into the locality, it is alleged that formerly at Odekai, that is Odekai Primary School, they had a population of over 504, that is pupils within the school, or children that were studying from that very school. But as this head teacher, Beatrice, that is Pedet, came in, she actually lowered that is the population of students, remaining with only 200 that is pupils within the school. And of course, saying that they are fighting for ways of improving that is studies in this very locality, but only that to find out things have still failed again this very time round. And of course, some other technical leaders into this very locality from Tororo have actually also continued to accuse this head teacher over that is the continued misconduct in his office, whereby it is alleged that this head teacher has gotten more than 3 stamps in his office, meaning that every time different people approach his office, she does use different stamps to actually stamp onto their documents or report cards and whatever. But that is what is actually happening in Tororo district over the poor performance that really brought up a lot of tension nationwide. And of course, even the district itself, it is even on pressure for really 43 that is pupils in primary 7, and all getting 30 that is 36 aggregates. And of course, there are so many stories, and of course we're still proceeding slowly. Remember, this show runs for an hour, right from the hours of that is 5 the hours of 3 to the hours of 4. But of course, into the remaining minutes, I also want you to get now what is also happening elsewhere, that is into the country. And of course, basing onto some other stories that have actually been currently making headlines, that is in some parts of and some parts of Kampala, central Uganda still. And of course, we see that 25 individuals have been arrested into an intelligence operation that was laid by some officers in Kampala, whereby we've seen the operations were actually done in places of that is Katoke, Katoke A and B, and of course Wamala Parish and Nansana, yes, municipality, and together with Lubaga division, whereby at least a couple of people have been, have been arrested. As we're speaking, at least 25 of the people have really been. That is Patrick Onyango was communication. We see that these people, I think, anytime they'll be aligned before the courts of the courts of law, and of course to find more of the stories. Remember, these people, the intelligence or this team of operation was really targeting places that are actually said of being on high. That is an increase of crimes into the city. But let's wait and see what will actually transpire. But is what is happening right now into that is our country. Kampala, in our capital city, Kampala. And of course, still moving you and in places of greater Masaka this very week. We've seen a couple of things also happening into this very function. And of course, I remember before this very function, there were a lot of activities that the UPDF officers managed to do to the communities as a way of giving back to the community, based into the stories and the communications that was really coming out onto these very these celebrations. They were actually focusing on how they can be in position to transform that is the livelihoods of people has one over, has the theme over these year's Tarehe Sita celebrations. And of course, every time that we get celebrate about this very day, maybe to give you a hint, we always remember the first bullet that was, fired when that is the NRA government, rebels, that is robbed Kabamba barracks in a fight, in a struggle over that is getting the NRM, the NRM. That is a government on power that is actually ruling right now. And of course, that's why we actually remember that struggle there. The first bullet was shot. So it is called Tarehe Sita because that's when the struggle started way back in, that is 1981. And of course, still moving with some other stories. And of course, now allow me to move you to, maybe before we get off this very story, let's have to first look at the video clip of what transpired there as these celebrations were being officiated. That is in places of greater Masaka. Mr. Producer, let's have the video actually displayed, and of course, and until my left is the videos of the videos of army officers, and of course lined up for onto the commemoration of the 44th celebrations of before time after the struggle ended. This is the 44th time, and that is actually what really happened in Masaka. As you're seeing there, as they are lining up, it was really so massive. And of course, it's in that is in a Masaka, greater Masaka region. Of course, that is what happened this very week places of Masaka. And of course, right now, as you still look into the video, just allow me now moving to some other stories that I've also made with across across the world. And of course, I remember every time that we come here, at least to give you some stories, the local stories. We get into the national scene, and of course also get the crossover, and also give you highlights of what is actually happening into the international scene, what has really transpired into the international scene. And of course, as there is a move, we have actually been seeing a battle that is in our neighborhoods over that is into the western Uganda neighbors, that is DRC Congo. Remember way back in time, a few weeks ago, we have actually seen a fight between the peacekeepers of that is DRC Congo government together with the M23 rebels, or what you can call the March 23 movement. Those rebels that also actually started their moves, that is was way back in time in years of around 2012 to 2013. That's when this army group was formed. It is said that it was this very group came from Uganda, and the others persons came from that is the army of DRC Congo. But based on the story, if you get to indulge deep into the story, it is said that some of the M23 rebels came from that is the DRC and were army, you understand, peacekeepers of army reached a time whereby the situation they were undergoing into the army forces wasn't good, and they ended up joining the rebel group. And of course, it's been fire, it's been people, it have been a shed of blood that is in places of Goma into the Kiev province in the eastern part of DRC Congo. And remember, the Kiev province neighbors Uganda together with Rwanda on the west. It neighbors Uganda on the west. It's just nearing the border over Uganda and Rwanda. So it's been actually evacuating their homes. People have really remained refugees into this very eve. Because a few weeks ago, that was last week, we saw the M23 declaring to have actually taken over, that is Goma in DRC Congo. Goma, one of the cities in the Kiev province. But as we're speaking right now, it is said that the East African Community, that is ESC, with its headquarters in that is Tanzania, and of course they are looking forward to actually have a joint meeting to summit, really talk about the situation that is happening in DRC Congo. And remember, DRC Congo is both into the East African Community and together with the SADC, that is a South African, South African state community. It's something of the kind. But of course, we see that all these two parties, the East African and SADC, at the same time will be having a joint summit that is in Arusha a few days to come, and of course talk about the situation in that is DRC Congo. And of course we have seen a couple of people times these people trying to rob that is DRC Congo, and leaving people homeless, not just once but right from years of 2013 when this group was really formed. And a number of speculations have actually been making rounds saying that it is actually alleged that the Rwandan president, that is Paulo Kagame, being one of the people behind actually backing up these M23 fighters in the DRC Congo. And let's get a look at the video in DRC Congo and how people are up and down in that is city of Goma. That is those are the people trying to evacuate their homes in places of DRC Congo amidst the war between the DRC army and government army together with the rebels in the DRC Congo at the same time. That is what is happening there, and of course may the souls over the date. And of course, as we're speaking right now, it is alleged that over that is 90 people lost their lives. An estimation of 90 people based into the small information that I've gotten from that, but it is said that number is even beyond that people. But of course, this very week we've also seen South African president, that is Cyril Ramaphosa, also coming out and saying no. And of course, as a South African minister has been heading to the joint summit being held in Tanzania, and of course he's actually he really talked about making a withdrawal from forces from that is the South Africa, the DRC Congo. Remember when this all started, South Africa was one of the countries that deployed its peacekeepers in the DRC Congo. But it said at least 20 people, soldiers were killed, including 14 South African force personnel were also killed in that very battle, and the others also lost their lives into that very fight that was still happening into that is the neighborhoods of DRC Congo. And of course, basing onto some other stories, we see that that is Samia Suluhu Hassan of Tanzania has also accepted to also really hold this summit in his country and talk about talk about how they can be in position to really bring peace in DRC Congo. And of course, we have also been seeing another article running down into the social media platforms whereby it is said, there have been, some stories going viral onto the social media platforms, into various platforms. But he said that coming from Uganda National Examination Board, but it is alleged that this information that is running viral is not true, based on to the communication that we are getting from some technocrats from the Uganda National Examination Board. It was alleged way back in time in some stories that on 7th February 2025, that's when UCE or that is a Uganda UCE something Uganda Certificate of Education exams will be released, that were done in 2024, will be released on 5th. But based on the communications from the technocrats from UBTEP, it is said that that information is false and the real date will be communicated. Maybe lastly, before I get signed out of this very put a couple of countries on tension. We have seen that way back in time, the United States of America had an organization called the United States Agency for International Development, you can call it USAID, that has actually been giving out support to different countries, in education sector, in houses sector, and different departments in different local, different down countries that are not so developed, including Uganda itself. But based on the communications that we are seeing, that Elon Musk, one of the richest men into the world, together with Donald Trump, the current United States of America's president, really came up with an injunction. They wanted to really issue an injunction onto this very USAID organization, stopping it from functioning into the United States of America. Whereas if it happens to happen, perhaps you'll find that a couple of countries are going to really be affected. And based on the communications and some news that are making rounds on different social media platforms, it is said that based on this very small injunction, these 90 days that were actually injuncted into this very organization, you said, that has really been giving out millions of money in support of different countries, including Uganda. Based on the communication that we've been getting from that is Makerere University, being one of the main people, the main sources that have been getting straight this money. It is a lady that 200 staff over Makerere University, as we're speaking right now, they are off duty due to this injunction that has been made. Remember, Makerere University is one of the institutions in Uganda that always consume big sums of money, and it is said the LSE, more so the LSE department, together with the agriculture department, veterinary department, these are the most affected, faculties into Makerere University. And of course, let's wait and see what will transpire. But of course, based on the communication we got from some of other professors into the university, it is said that currently the stand of the university is not stable, and in case it happens that this injunction remains standstill, you see that Makerere University as a university will come up, as an institution, will really come up and put in, come back to Parliament and task Parliament to also have a subsidized budget for this very institution. Remember, this money they have, maybe they should have another budget for the university, because a couple of services will now stop running due to financial issues. And still onto this very story today, we have also seen that Trump's administration also saying that they will only accept to work with 294 that is staff of this very organization of USAID into the United States of America and elsewhere in the world. Only 294. Remember, in Africa we have only been given 12. That is the allocation, based on the news headlines that are making rounds. Only 12 staffs of USAID will be deployed in the country, Uganda, out of the 10,000 that have really been globally. So they only need 294. And remember, out of this population, the others will still remain, that is, unemployed. So it really creates a lot of, confusion, a lot of tension, more so to the countries that are really been relying on to this very organization over USAID into the United States of America. And also Asia has really been given 8, and some others been, put in different parts of the country at large. But the total sum of other people that are needed to work with USAID, based on to the Trump's administration, administration are 290 of that is a 94 stars. Very pleased. I pray that Mr. Producer, if there is any comment be outside there, or maybe if somebody has commented, you pray or you pass it on, display it, and then I'll be in position to really pass it on for the viewers of Welcome Television. One more time, I want to really appreciate everyone that really takes his time and keeps it Elkem Television. They keep watching, and of course endeavor that they are on for these very summaries that really bring out and really let you know some of the stories that have made around into the week. But of course, the other thing I want to tell you, a reminder that this panel always comes up with a couple of scrutinizers or analysts to come and talk about these very stories and delve deep in them. But we're still having some technical issues, but I promise anytime we get they'll be coming through and joining the panel, and of course will be in position to indulge more deep and magnify more onto these very stories that will be, or deliberate more onto these very stories that will be have happened into this very particular show. And of course, one more time, if there are no there's some there is a comments I'm getting see onto the screens. But of course, this one is called Kasigwa Patrick Gambia. Thanks for the show, and of course thanks for also watching Elkem Television. This one says Karim Abdallah, thanks for the updates, and of course thanks for watching Elkem Television, and of course you guys are really great. And of course, is there any comment, Mr. Producer? I pray you scroll if there is any other comment, Mr. Producer. Yes, Abdallah and Kasigwa, and of course Kasigwa Patrick together with Karim Abdallah. You guys, thank you very much for always loving Elkem Television. Of course, keeping it your number one TV station into Masindi and the rest of the world. But for now, that is all we had for you. And allow me wish you a very that is a nice weekend ahead of the Valentine's Day. That will be on the 14th day of this very month. God bless. Let's catch up again. That will be on Friday onto different stories that would have transpired.